All right, welcome to the ellipse. First, interesting shape. So what you got to think about the ellipse, it's basically a circle that's, well, a circle that's stretched out. Couldn't really stretch that one over there. But a circle that's stretched out in one of the directions. Now, we're not going to do like sideways diagonal ellipses, just horizontal ellipses and vertical ellipses. So with this in mind, we need to kind of get the math definition, which is very, very interesting, actually, especially if you have ever tried to draw an ellipse. But I always think of an ellipse as like something that almost like has two different centers. And the way to draw it is you to put two pins, basically take a piece of rope that's a little bit longer than this distance, or a lot longer for that matter, and then connect it to these two pins, and then draw a circle around it like this. And this rope will keep on basically kind of adjusting like this over and over again, and that's how you get an ellipse. So the math definition of an ellipse is a figure in which the sum of the distances from 2 points called the foci to each point on the figure is constant. So instead of like this, in a circle equidistant to a center, now the sum of the distances here, one distance, here's another, has to always be the same. So what is the foci? It is basically, it's these focus points right here that govern what the ellipse is going to look like. It's, I want to call them the points, the focus points of the ellipse. Sorry, ellipse. There we go. Okay, now, so right here, those are the two foci right there. All right, now the midpoint of the of this segment. So the exact midpoint of the segment that connects the two foci is the center of the ellipse. So foci is the center of the ellipse right here. So an ellipse does have a center. It is located between the foci, but I always look at the foci as like these two centers, because it really they govern the ellipse a lot more than the center itself. Okay, so the vertices, which vertices is plural of vertex, these 2 points right here are located, and they're located on the ellipse. So the first point's on the ellipse, and along the line between the foci and obviously the center as well. So right here, if you were to basically stretch it out, these two would be your vertices. Okay, now the major axis, an ellipse has a major and a minor axis. The major axis is the segment between the vertices. So it's basically this distance right here. I'm just going to make it a little bit thicker right here, this distance right there. So right there, this distance. All right. So in our case, this distance, and then the minor axis is going to be this distance right here. It's basically the line through the center perpendicular to the major axis. So the line or the segment, because it does have endpoints, between the co-vertices or the line perpendicular to, sorry, I keep on saying line, but it's really the segment. Perpendicular to the major axis through the center of the ellipse. So here, for a quick little picture, if I was to move these, so if this was our ellipse right here, these would be basically their lines, with the center of the ellipse being right here and right here. So the covertices are located at the endpoints of the minor axis, which are right here, this guy and this guy. Alrighty, so the standard form of an ellipse that is centered at 0, 0 at the origin is right here. Alright, and if there is an x-intercept or if there is a y-intercept, it's really easy to find. Because all you need to do is just plug in your zeros for the x or for the y. So for the y-intercept, it's the point where it's an x but a y is 0, so therefore it's when you have x squared over a squared equals to 1, so therefore when x squared equals to a squared and when x equals to plus or minus a. Right there, if it exists, that's where it would be. And then for here, it's when you have a 0 and then you obviously have a y here, and that's when your y squared divided by b squared equals to 1. So when y squared equals to b squared, and therefore y equals to plus or minus b. All right, so we're going to graph in the next video.